Demon Slayer is both one of the best-selling manga series of all time and one of the most popular anime ever produced. But even with this insane resume, Demon Slayer's creator has been able to stay the most private manga artist in Japan. But after months of research, I have unearthed the mind-blowing story of how the mysterious mangaka revolutionized both the manga and anime industries. This is the deepest dive into Koyoharu Gotouge. Koyoharu Gotouge was born on May 5th, 1989 in Fukuoka Prefecture, Japan, and as I've mentioned, very little is known about their personal life. Many famous mangaka value their privacy in a way that us used to Western celebrities really can't understand. But even compared to other manga artists, Gotouge takes anonymity to an entirely different level, opting to represent themselves with their avatar, a cute alligator with glasses, whenever they make public announcements related to their work. We know that Gotouge grew up watching a lot of shonen anime and reading a lot of shonen manga. Gotouge's love for these type of series is what inspired them to become an inspiring mangaka at a very young age. This new dream led Gotouge down the path to becoming extremely passionate about art and drawing. And luckily, their parents were very supportive and encouraged their passions and helped them overcome all the obstacles that come with such an ambitious dream. I love this for Gotouge because I've covered so many manga artists in this series whose parents sadly did the exact opposite. Out of all the shonen series that inspired Gotouge, 4 series had the most notable impact on the kind of stories they would want to tell. These series were Gintama, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Naruto, and Bleach. These series not only inspired Gotouge to become an aspiring mangaka, but their influence is even seen reflected in pretty much all of their future works. We'll get more into that later in the video, but do keep it in the back of your mind as we break down Gotouge's manga journey. Drawing manga would go from a hobby to a potential career for Gotouge at the age of 24, when they participated in the 70th Jump Treasure Newcomer Manga Awards with their one-shot Kagarigari, aka The Hunted Hunter. It received an honorable mention, which is pretty impressive for your first manga. Kagarigari is often called the prototype to what would become Gotouge's hit series Kimetsu no Yaiba, also known as Demon Slayer, even though they released several other manga between the two series. In Kagarigari, the overall concept of demons and demon slaying is very similar to that in the Demon Slayer manga. But in Kagarigari, the demons are more akin to vampires than Gotouge's future demon archetype. This can be contributed to the influence of JoJo and Gotouge's work, as Gotouge's monster or vampire archetype matches the characteristics of Araki's concept for them through Dio in JoJo's part 1 through 3 and the Pillar Men in part 2. This influence is much more apparent in the Demon Slayer manga, so we will cover this more in that segment. A lot of fans feel like Kagarigari is much darker in tone than that of Demon Slayer, as there is a lack of comedic relief or slice of life elements to break up the otherwise depressing world. The short version of the plot of Kagarigari is a 3-way battle between the prototypes of Muzan, Tamayo, and Yushiro, who are allies and even have the same blood demon art as their future versions. Their enemy is a Japanese Dracula or Dio-like figure who intrudes into Muzan's territory. These two kinda have a yin and yang thing going on about how demons should live. And then there is Nagari, the prototype for demon slayers or demon hunters, who shows up, handles business, and dips. So Muzan and all of his allies that follow him like to keep a low profile and avoid chaos and senseless killings. Therefore, it is problematic for them when this outsider demon starts savagely killing humans basically for fun. He says he had gotten bored just hiding in the forest around Muzan's peaceful village, and so he would rather kill humans than hide miserably amongst them. Nagari has a tragic backstory of being the most talented in killing demons at a very young age, but he lost both of his eyes and his arm in something called the final selection, taking on 6 demons at once. But even with this handicap, he was still by far the most talented hunter his people have ever seen. So they worked hard to save him so he can fulfill their demon slaying wishes. In my opinion, this was a very good first manga. I would even say it is better than most mangaka's debut works I've read. And if you're a fan of Gotouge's work, I would recommend reading it. But be aware that it is still just a diet version of Demon Slayer with less less refined ideas and noticeable influences that Gotouge hadn't quite made their own yet. Though the fact this manga was made 100% without an editor is impressive, especially when you realize just how much of Kagarigari's concepts were revamped. Get it? Because they're vampires? Never mind.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Were revamped and then would become an internationally successful series. Like how the story already had special swords with ranks on them. But anyway, after this, Gotouge would keep practicing with the dream of one day getting one of their works serialized. Only 1 year after Kagarigari, Gotouge would finish a second manga titled Monju Shiro Kyoda. It would be published in Jump Next in 2014. This story revolves around the Monju brothers and their adventures as they navigate through supernatural elements and challenges. This one-shot had a similar style and tone to Gotouge's previous manga, but with improved art and character designs. This one-shot was kinda creepy, mainly for all the bug-related stuff, but don't get me wrong, the illustration looked really cool. You could just feel how much hard work Gotouge was putting in to improve. Later that same year, Gotouge created another one-shot called Rokatsu-san, and this manga was published in the Weekly Shonen Jump, Shueisha's flagship magazine. This was a huge deal. It's easily the most famous manga anthology in the world. If you tried to picture the most famous shonen series you can, it most likely got its start here. And I'm not exaggerating. Naruto, One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, and many, many more. Even though I grew up in the States, on the opposite side of the world, I used to ask my mom to buy me copies as a kid from our local grocery store because they had them, and this was like way before anime culture was anywhere near as popular as it is today. That's just how globally famous Shonen Jump is and has always been. Rokatsu-san was a part of Jump's Golden Future Cup as entry 3. The story followed a mysterious and eerie character, Rokatsu-san, who encounters various supernatural and strange situations. This too was a pretty brutal manga, which has now become a signature in Gotouge's work. But what really stood out in this one-shot to me, they were getting more comfortable experimenting and attempting to blend genres, which is something that all of Gotouge's influences did very well. To me, this is where things get really exciting, because Gotouge and their now editor Tatsuhiko Katayama decide they have enough experience, momentum, and skill to really shoot for their ultimate goal, weekly serialization in Shonen Jump. So they brainstorm and then draft up a manuscript for a manga called Haeniwa no Zigzag, a unique spin on the anti-hero story. The manga follows Zigzag Sato, who possesses a mysterious plant-like power, but he can also remove curses from people. This is an extremely useful ability because in this world, sometimes humans are infected by curses by other humans who learn to use curse casting skills. If you are infected by a curse user's ability, they can make you do extreme things you wouldn't normally do. And self-harm warning for the next line. An example of the terrifying power of curses is the first mystery we dive into is that people in a certain prefecture are unaliving themselves at an astronomically higher rate than normal. This is related to the fact that when people who possess curse casting abilities are really evil, they become curse killers for hire in order to rack up a lot of money performing hits. Therefore, the narrative of these stories explore themes of supernatural mysteries and tragedy. Since Zigzag somewhat works for an agency who tracks suspicious events that could be caused by curses and then they deal with it. But Zigzag often puts up a fight, not really wanting to help because he isn't technically doing these things out of goodwill. His motives are more complex than altruistic. He has this whole philosophy that people should try to do things themselves before they even think about asking help from others. Like how he even didn't want to help this older lady who seemed to be his friend carry some heavy shopping bags, telling her, quote, "Try working hard by yourself." Throughout the manga though, Zigzag does end up helping people anyway, but again, it's hard to separate how much of it is something he wants to do and or he has to do, as you'll find out towards the end. Haeniwa no Zigzag is easily Gotouge's best written and illustrated story yet. In just one chapter, I was super invested in this world, thought the main character was extremely intriguing, and I loved his outfit. It was super stylish stylish, Araki would be proud. But after finishing the chapter, I was sad to learn that it had failed to get picked up for weekly serialization. I thought the story was heading in this really interesting direction, where we would get to see Zigzag and the agency he worked with track down more cursed killers, who each have their own unique and dangerous abilities, like a supernatural Sherlock Holmes series. But there is rumors the Shonen Jump higher-ups felt like it was too dark for their magazine, even though I thought Gotouge had gotten way better at creating comedic or lighthearted moments in between the more serious ones. Shonen Jump being scared to give manga artists the freedom to try really cool, unique ideas is actually way more common than it should be. Pretty much the exact same thing happened in my The Tragic Rise of Hunter x Hunter video with Togashi. Also, given the current climate of anime and manga, this series has more potential now than whenever they first made it. If they decided to pick it back up or make it an anime, fans of series like Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Kaiju number 8 would eat this series right up. Either way though, it's okay because Gotouge knew this manga wasn't all the way the story they was really aiming for. So their editor, Katayama, recommended that Gotouge make a series that was more relatable to them and other people. A manga that is a little less dark without losing Gotouge's signature style of mature underlying themes. After years of aiming for serialization, the two knew this time they had to give it their all. In an interview with Manga Plus, Katayama explained the two of them decided to focus on a story with a simple Japanese motif and a solid concept. So they came up with the idea to use themes from Gotouge's award-winning work, Kagarigari, as the basis for their new story. They felt it had a lot of proven potential they could build off of now that they have more experience with what makes a great manga. Gotouge created a storyboard for a potential series titled Kisatsu no Nagari, but Katayama believed that it was still too dark to get greenlit for serialization. So he encouraged Gotouge to develop a brighter, more normal character to navigate the story's dismal world. And I think the editor's instincts were exactly right. The optimistic Tanjiro is a nice contrast to the otherwise depressing world building of their future manga. The story would have been a lot more one note if we followed a depressing main character in an also depressing world. This shows why editors are so important. In my The Dark Rise of One Piece video, it was Oda's editor that told him his first chapter was too boring, which inspired Oda to add the scene of Shanks losing his arm. That intense moment is one of the things that led to One Piece taking off as fast as it did. Good editors are brutally honest, and they deserve a lot more credit. By the way, one of the few things we do know about Gotouge's personality is also from their editor, who said in an interview that to him, Gotouge is similar to Tanjiro in a lot of ways. Very hardworking and a kind and noble person. But anyway, listening to their editor's advice, Gotouge crafted a new version of the manga titled Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. The storyline follows Tanjiro on his journey to seek revenge on the demon Muzan, who killed his family and turned his sister into a demon. He is also trying to find a way to turn his sister back to normal. During this quest, he makes a lot of friends and has to navigate through the dark world of the century-long war between demons and the Demon Slayer Corps. If someone asked me to describe Demon Slayer in a single sentence, I would call it the ultimate revenge story. When trying to come up with the kind of main character that their editor suggested, Gotouge drew inspiration from their favorite kind-hearted samurai, none other than Kenshin Himura. From the legendary series Rurouni Kenshin, Tanjiro's hair, scar, and personality are all a nod to Himura. Toge would then base many of the other characters in Demon Slayer on real people in their life, friends and family. Gotouge thinks this makes them feel more genuine and realistic, which I think definitely worked. To me, Demon Slayer's characters are one of the best parts of the series. This ability that Gotouge has to draw inspiration from so many places is one of their best traits as a creative. For an example, let's take a look at some of Gotouge's manga influences. Shonen Jump loved Demon Slayer and it got greenlit for serialization immediately. And just a few months after the series began publication, Gotouge participated in a Japanese Twitcast interview about the series, where they answered fan questions from Twitter. One of the questions that was asked was, is, what is their top 3 biggest manga influences? And Gotouge answered Bleach, Naruto, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The Bleach influences is kinda obvious if you have read or seen both series. Bleach's 13 Soul Reaper captains and their specialized powers, as well as the overall Soul Reaper organizational structure and dressing in kimonos, resembles the entire Hashira and Demon Slayer Corp structure and concept. The Naruto influences comes in the form of how well Kishimoto depicted sword fights and action. This taught Gotouge that in shonen series, action scenes are just as, if not more important, as the plot itself. This led Gotouge to give Demon Slayer some truly amazing fight scenes. Also, several characters like Tengen use ninjutsu or dress like how Naruto depicts ninjas. All of JoJo's influence is a little harder to see, but I think it might be the series that influenced Demon Slayer the most. Let's take a look at JoJo's vampire template. First, the genius and terrifying concept of Muzan is 100% inspired by Dio Brando. Dio Brando is the patient zero of vampires. It all starts with him. Dio becomes a vampire. He then starts turning more humans into vampires who must feed on other humans to survive. These vampires are incredibly durable and can regenerate even seemingly fatal wounds, but they can only go out at night. All of this pretty much applies 1-for-1 to Demon Slayer's demons. But where the connections get really interesting is that in JoJo, those who are trained to fight these creatures use an ancient breathing technique called Hamon that allows them to both severely wound the vampires, enhance their physical strength, and even heal wounds. Not unlike the usefulness of breathing techniques in Demon Slayer, specifically and originating with sun breathing. And did you know that in JoJo, their breathing technique works by allowing them to harness the power of the sun?
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Both series also have plot points where some of these beings' ultimate goal is to conquer the sun. The Pillar Man in JoJo and Muzan in Demon Slayer. While making the JoJo documentary video I released, I learned just how much Araki loves to reference real life musicians he likes in his work. I couldn't find anything to prove this next statement, but I feel like this is what inspired Gotouge to base Muzan's design after Michael Jackson, arguably the most famous musician to ever exist. This was marketing genius and is actually how I got into Demon Slayer myself. I kept seeing scenes of Muzan being shared around and I was like, I gotta check out that anime with the evil king of pop. And with millions of other people checking out Demon Slayer for their own reasons, Gotouge was about to become far more successful than they ever dreamed. And if you would like to help me achieve my own dream of becoming the king of anime YouTube, just like this video and subscribe. The like goal for this video will be 201 likes. With just 4 years of publication, Demon Slayer sold an astronomical amount of volumes. Demon Slayer's popularity, especially in Japan, but also globally, is hard for me to even explain. With over 150 million copies sold, it's already the 10th highest selling manga of all time. That's with significantly less volumes available, being a much shorter series than its competition on the list. And it is also a way younger series overall, coming out decades after some of them. When you look into it, it is just insane how much this series dominated the marketplace. During its peak, second place wasn't even close. And I credit a lot of this to something Gotouge did that so many other manga artists failed at. It's simple, but genius. Gotouge gave a shit about the anime adaptation of the series. Demon Slayer revolutionized the relationship between manga and anime. Hiroyuki Nakano, an editor-in-chief of Weekly Shonen Jump, discussed Demon Slayer's success and how it reflected the evolving relationship between manga and anime in a 2020 interview. Quote, normally manga gradually sells more copies throughout the anime's run, but Demon Slayer's Kimetsu no Yaiba sales shot up straight after the anime ended. If you want to read the full interview, it was with Nikki Entertainment. But to paraphrase, word of mouth about how great the anime was, mixed with the addictive storytelling selling after people started it made more people check out the source material of the anime than any other series ever. People watched the anime adaptation and then was like, I gotta see what happens next. This was possible because from the very beginning, Gotouge was making their manga with the potential anime in mind. They realized what a god tier anime might be able to do to bolster a series' popularity more than any other manga artist. Most mangakas feel they are too busy with their manga work to worry about the anime. They often just let whatever company is doing the adaptation handle the nuances of it, which is why there are so many anime that fall short when compared to their manga. That's where the meme, the manga's better, comes from. But Gotouge had a very active role in helping Ufotable make everything perfect with Demon Slayer's adaptation. According to anime producer Yuma Takahashi, Gotouge was in constant contact with him and remained, quote, intimately involved in the entire process, searching for the best directors, animators, musicians, and vocal talent they could find, even asking help from renowned anime and game musicians Yuki Kanjura and Go Shina, who was happy to lend their talents, adding pleasing orchestral arrangements throughout the first season, and J-pop star Lisa added her insane vocals to the iconic opening song. All of this extra care paid off. I remember seeing so many clips of Demon Slayer's visually euphoric animation floating around. It was blowing everyone's mind. I mean, we all remember when the iconic episode 19 dropped. If you was on the internet, you couldn't escape it. This was the most viral I've ever seen a new anime go. And unlike most anime, it felt like Demon Slayer season 2 animation was even better. I still think about Tanjiro versus Gyutaro to this day. After the success of season 1, the Demon Slayer manga went from selling a decent 100,000 copies to breaking an 11-year streak held by One Piece for being Japan's best-selling manga of the year. This made every manga publisher in Japan go, okay, any series we believe in is getting a banger animation. Heck, even most average series these days get a pretty great animation. If you're old enough, you remember the days when even the mangas with the most hype was lucky to even get a decent adaptation because studios would not risk losing money and manga artists didn't really care about the anime. But so many people watched Demon Slayer and then went to go read the manga that manga sales exploded globally. This made both the manga and anime industry awaken to the value of respecting the anime as much as the manga. Most mangaka these days create their series with the future anime in mind. I call this the Demon Slayer effect. After season 1, the first Demon Slayer movie dropped, and it too broke records, becoming the highest grossing anime film of all time, edging out Spirited Away. This became proof of concept that American theaters can make money with anime movies, leading to way more Western theatrical anime movie releases. I know that the Demon Slayer movie wasn't the first anime movie to release in the West. Of course, we've had major productions like Studio Ghibli films for a while now, but canon anime tie-ins being released globally is definitely thanks to the Demon Slayer effect. Demon Slayer's virality was also helped by Gotouge's foresight to make their characters extremely merchandisable and cosplayable. So what's next for Gotouge? Even though they are very happy with how Demon Slayer turned out, because they are so ambitious, they have already expressed their desire to try to create a different kind of manga next. A quote, science fiction romance comedy. I'm excited to read whatever Gotouge can do with this concept, but even if it turns out not as good as Demon Slayer, Gotouge has already carved their name into manga history. In February 2021, Gotouge was included in Times Magazine's as a phenom for the world's most influential people. They are the first manga artist to receive this honor. They have also won so many other awards for both the Demon Slayer anime and manga that it would take another 30 minutes to name them all. I made this video because I felt it was really important to emphasize that Gotouge went from being inspired by others to aspiring others. Who knows, one day I might be making a video about a young curator who was inspired by Demon Slayer to chase their own dreams. But for now, drop cookies in the comments, the word or an emoji to let me know you made it to the very end of this video because you're helping me chase my own dreams. Thank you.